I know, right? How original is this? Me talking about Spider-Man over Spider-Man PS4 gameplay. You guys know why we're here. Spider-Man No Way Home. I saw the movie last night, and I wanted to make sure that hype and nostalgia wasn't affecting my review, so I slept on it. And it's the morning after, and there are some things that I like more now than last night, and there's some things I don't like more now than last night. So let's get into it. As you guys can see by the title, this is a spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen the movie or are planning to see it, make sure you come back to this. Don't let me spoil the movie for you. So yeah, let's get into it. So the movie ends at the exact end of Far From Home. Uh, we see how the public is turning against Spider-Man now, knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and the whole identity thing gets revealed very quickly. We get a scene with Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, Daredevil, telling Peter that he'll solve everything and all this. And I'm glad that Charlie Cox is back. I'm super glad because I really enjoyed the Daredevil shows, and I'm glad he's back. But yeah, that was kind of disappointing to me that basically the whole identity thing got solved very quickly. Like not even a third into the movie. But it was really fucking hectic and really intense seeing the public treat Spider-Man like a piece of trash. Like it was really cool. Um but we find out that Ned, MJ and Peter all applied to college to go to college. But they all got denied because of the controversy that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And Peter feels this obligation, which he should, but he also shouldn't. Like I don't really like I don't know where I stand on it, but yeah, they all applied for college and they all got denied because Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Uh and Peter realizes that's not fair and all this. So he goes to Doctor Strange and he tries to make him have a spell or have a spell, make a spell so that everybody forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Keyword forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Um But while Strange is making the spell, Peter realizes that he doesn't want everybody to forget. He just wants the public to forget. So he still wants Aunt May, Ned, MJ, all those people to still know that he's Spider-Man. So he ends up messing up the spell because of that, and it causes the multiverse to break open. And Strange realizes that Peter did not contact the the college people first before he made a fucking like multiverse breaking spell. So Strange tells Peter to basically go try and convince them, and if it doesn't work, then you're shit out of luck. So basically, we get an entire scene, basically the bridge scene. We get the bridge scene. So Peter's trying to convince the college person or whatever the fuck her name is to reconsider and all this. Like it's not their fault that I'm Spider-Man. Please, they're the smartest people I've ever known. Trying to convince this woman to rethink her decision. Then we get a cool scene with the spider sense and the whole bridge scene with Iron Spider and Doc Ock, and that scene was amazing. It was honestly so fucking cool. Between Doc Ock's arms and the Iron Spider arms fighting each other, to the brutality of fucking Doc Ock's arms, it was fucking crazy. It was in crazy, guys. Um, and yeah, like Alfred Molina was really good. I'm glad they brought him back. Uh, so basically, from the trailers, the nanotech kind of like goes onto Doc Ock's arms, and Peter is able to kind of like make them not hostile. So we get like they're not hostile anymore, and they're kind of like talking it through, like you're not my Spider-Man and all this shit. And then Green Goblin appears, and we get the OG look and everything. But before like anything happens, a portal opens behind them, and Doctor Strange ends up putting Doc Ock in a cell and explaining to Peter like, we're having visitors from other dimensions and all this shit. And then we see Lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man 1. He has a redesign, and I think his voice is different. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds like his voice is different. Uh, and Lizard and Sandman aren't really in this film much. Like they're in the film a good amount, but like not much compared to other people. Uh, but yeah, I wasn't a really huge person on like, oh, the fucking lizard doesn't look like lizard and all this shit from the Amazing Spider-Man. But I guess the redesign looked better. I guess like there's some scenes with the lizard that was really fucking cool. I really enjoyed. Uh, so basically, at the Sanctum Sanctorum, uh, Doctor Strange tells Peter that he is gonna send them all back, pretty much to their deaths. So Peter isn't okay with that. So at this point in the movie, uh, Lizard, Doc Ock, Electro, Green Goblin, like they're all there and they're all in a cell. And Strange is like, "All right, I'm gonna send them back." Uh, basically back to their deaths because Electro pretty much died. Doc Ock sacrificed himself, and Green Green Goblin also died. So Peter isn't okay with this, and that ends up in a fight between Doctor Strange and Peter, which is really fucking cool because it ends up with Peter defeating Doctor Strange using geometry, which that is pure Spider-Man using his brains to defeat a fucking wizard. Hell yeah. Um. Yeah, Peter ends up trapping Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension, and before Aura closes, Ned grabs Doctor Strange's like finger gauntlet things that you can open portals with, and there's a pretty cool scene with that later. So yeah, Peter decides instead of sending them home to die that he will try and fix them, which he ends up doing to Doc Ock by fixing the inhibitor chip that broke in Spider-Man 2. Um, and Doc Ock ends up turning back into uh Dr. Octavius. Anyways, but before he can fix anyone else, Norman Osborn goes apeshit, and there's a brutal fight scene between Peter and Norman, which I fucking loved. It was brutal. It was choreographed very fucking good. And did I mention it was fucking brutal? Because it is. Peter gets his ass kicked in this. I get chills literally thinking about this scene, and I just saw it last night. Like, it is honestly one of my favorite scenes in any Spider-Man movie. Uh, there's one scene where Peter is beating the living shit out of Norman, and Norman is just sitting there laughing his ass off. And it's fucking amazing how good that scene is. Uh, but then Osborn ends up defeating Peter, and Aunt May ends up dying, which I was not fucking expecting, considering how much of like a parent figure Aunt May was in these films. Like, and she's young. She's kind of young too. Like, she's not like Aunt May from the original Spider-Man trilogy and all this shit. Like, she's kind of young. She's in her like 40s or something. Which dude, that scene where she's crying in Peter's arms and Peter's crying, that was one of the best scenes. It's so well acted. It's so good. But yeah, she ends up getting impaled by Norman's glider, and it's heartbreaking, that scene. And this is from somebody who's cried multiple times at Gwen Stacy dying in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, it's one of the best acting scenes I've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. Uh he ends up leaving her there because it's either that or he gets captured by agents and the whole world goes to shit. So he ends up leaving her. Um and then we see one final tear run down May's face, and it is, man, it is fucking heartbreaking. Uh but yeah, so Peter leaves the movie. Well, Tom Holland leaves the movie for a good like 10 minutes. but we get one of the most comic book scenes ever. Uh, we see how MJ and Ned are dealing with this whole thing and realizing that May's dead and all this, and MJ is contemplating sending them all back because there's the box that Doctor Strange made, which we saw in the trailers, that one button and it'll send them all back. But Ned says we should wait for Peter. I wish I could see Peter. And he has the Doctor Strange finger rings on. So he accidentally opens up a portal while saying I wish I could talk to Peter. And we see a alleyway, and down that alleyway is Andrew fucking Garfield. Andrew fucking Garfield, which is personally my favorite Spider-Man. I know a lot of people don't really like him, but that is personally my favorite Spider-Man. Anyways, I freaked the fuck out. I freaked the fuck out. He basically says that he got pulled here when the multiverse broke open and doesn't really know what's going on. The MJ says that they should keep opening portals until they find their Peter. So a portal opens behind them, and Tobey fucking Maguire shows up after 20 fucking years. Well, not 20 years, 2007, like 15 something years. But since we first seen him, it's been like 20 years. And I have never heard a theater that fucking loud and crazy. Like, it was fucking amazing. I wish I recorded the audio of the fucking theater, but I didn't want to ruin the experience for me or anybody else. So yeah, that it was fucking insanity. Basically, Toby tells them that he got pulled in when the multiverse broke in, also, and that he's been trying to find their Peter ever since he saw the news that his identity got revealed. So they find Tom Holland's Spider-Man and formulate a plan. Oh shit! I just realized. Wait, did I mention that Aunt May says, "With great power comes great responsibility"? I don't think I did. Yeah, she fucking says that, which I love, because it's gonna shut the crybaby ass fanboys up, and I'm so glad she said that. But anyways, yeah, they find their Peter, and basically they try to formulate a plan of how to save them and send them back. Um, Basically they go to a lab and they make cures for all the villains, and we get the iconic finger pose. The fucking the Spider-Man finger pose. Oh no, you're not Spider-Man. All that shit. And we also get a scene about them talking about Toby's organic webs, which is fucking hilarious. Um, we end up going straight to the final battle. There. This is where my opinion, like the movie, changes kind of. The CGI, I know they were rushed and everything, but the CGI is very wonky. Well, at some points it's wonky. At some points it's really good, and some points it's wonky. But just I don't know. Like I don't really like the way it looks. Like they brought in the CGI people, the VFX artists from both the Raimi films and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And I really like that the CGI on both Andrew and Toby, they look like the CGI that was in their movies. And I don't know if that's what they were going for, but it's what it looks like. Um Another thing is I don't like the way some of the lines were delivered. Like, I was watching one review of this, and they were like, yeah, it kind of felt like an SNL sketch at some points, and I do agree with that. It felt like an SNL sketch. Uh but this is like one of the best Spider-Man battles ever of all time. It is fucking amazing. Anyways, we uh we see the scene from the trailer where MJ falls, and everybody speculated that Andrew was going to be the one to save her, and it turned out to be true. And it was such a good moment. As somebody who's loved those movies, it was such a nice scene to me. But they end up curing Sandman, Electro, and the Lizard during the final battle, and then Doc Ock earlier in the film. So all that's left is Green Goblin. He ends up flying into the final battle, and there's once again a brutal ass fight scene with Norman and Tom Holland. And it comes to a point where Tom Holland is about to stab Norman with his own glider, but Toby stops him, and Tom Holland finally realizes that's not what Spider-Man does. Um, but while Toby has his back turned, he gets stabbed by Norman, and the theater freaked the fuck out. But he does not die, and they end up curing Norman. But other dimensions are starting to come through, and Doctor Strange, like, he tells Peter that he can't hold them any longer. Tom Holland has to make a decision to continue the spell and let everybody forget that he is Spider-Man. So he says his goodbyes, and the spell works. Everybody forgets Peter Parker. Like, everybody, not just everybody forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Everybody forgets Peter Parker, and it comes at consequences because MJ, Ned, Happy, they all forget he's Spider-Man, and it's heartbreaking because it's heartbreaking, man. The movie ends with Peter buying a nice little apartment for himself and making his own suit, which the suit I don't know if I'm gonna put a picture up. I probably won't, but you can find it on the internet somewhere. That suit is really fucking good. Um, and yeah, the post-credit scene is Eddie Brock from the Venom universe, Tom Hardy, uh, like talking about what happened. Like, oh, there's Avengers and all this shit, and then the portal opens. Like he gets sent back, but a part of the symbiote stays. So I don't know if they're saving that for Venom 3 or Spider-Man 4, but I cannot fucking wait to see Tom Holland in the suit, the black suit, the symbiote suit. And the other one is a Doctor Strange trailer, which I kind of liked. I'm surprised they didn't release it yet, but like it's pretty cool. I love this movie. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Even if some people don't agree that this is the best Spider-Man film, it is easily hands down the best of the Homecoming trilogy. Tom Holland's acting is so much better in this. It's more mature, like I said, and there's actions to its consequences, and he's finally realizing what responsibility actually is. I'm so excited for what they're gonna do next with the Spider-Man films, and I hope everybody can stop shitting on the live-action Spider-Man because honestly, the community, one of the most toxic communities, is the Spider-Man community. And I hope this movie brings closure to all the fans who like either Spider-Man. Like I said, my main complaints with this movie are the CGI at some points and some lines that are delivered. But other than that, this is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever. This movie does not feel real. Like, it does not feel real. If I had to rate the movie, it'd honestly be an either 8.5 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. I would recommend that you guys go see this because the movie is fucking worth it. And that's pretty much just gonna do it. The next review I think I'll do is the Batman, so make sure you guys stick around for that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.